You're listening to The View from Up Here, an equipping podcast by Viewpoint Leadership and Development. Our vision is to cultivate a change in the way the world views leadership and development. And our mission is to foster better leaders through a modern approach while developing individuals into their true selves. My name's Brad Walbridge, your host for our time together. And joining me in our conversations is our president and founder, Josh Trout, and our COO, Joel Archeri. Well, we want to welcome in our viewers, our listeners to the View from Up Here podcast. Welcome back. Brad, as always, with Josh and Joel acting fool on the other side there. Yeah. We are coming to you from the Sit and Spin studios here in Greenville, South Carolina. And we're joined...
Hashtag.
Yes. Hashtag Greenville. We're joined by Richard Muncaster. Richard, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Yeah. You're the founder and, would we say, president, chairman of Muncaster Financial Services?
That's correct. Yeah.
Muncaster Financial. Can we just go back and do that differently? Because I want to get the name of his company right. I'm sorry.
You just want to start over?
I've been talking too much.
Cup. Here,
Look at the cup.
There you go.
Thank you. Turn it just right.
There you go.
Just stare at us.
I have it written down properly. I just got out of control. Want to welcome in our listeners and our viewers to the View from Up Here podcast. I'm Brad, joined as always by Joel and Josh, acting a fool over there. We are joined today here at the Sit and Spin studios by Richard Muncaster. Richard is the founder of Muncaster Financial Group. Richard, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, good to have you with us. So tell us, you've been in financial services for over, 25 years?
27 now.
Yeah. How did you get into that?
That's a great question. In high school, I'll go way back.
Yeah.
But in high school, I was fortunate to have a business course, and part of that course was relating to stocks. It was a quarter, and just fell in love with it. Wow. Became very passionate about it. Hadn't really watched the market up to that point, and started doing so, and really just found a love for it and decided I wanted to be a finance major when I got to Clemson, and just really kind of followed that dream. And I had this vision really early on of where I wanted to be in 20 years. And it sounds kind of crazy. It's a linear vision of how I was going to get from point A to point B, and I've just stayed on that path.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's led me to where we are today.
Was there something specifically you say that you knew early on that this was exciting, this was something that you would be passionate about for many years? Mm-hmm. Is there something you can point to, or a couple things you can point to that really were drivers for that?
I think there were a couple pieces, but one, I was always really good at math. I just enjoyed math. That was where I gravitated to. My dad was an attorney. I loved the fact that he helped people on a regular basis, and kind of grew up seeing his practice and what he was doing and how he operated, and really what happened was I just kind of married the two together. Mm-hmm. I decided, I love math. I'm passionate about the market as I learned more and more about business, and really was always interested in business anyway. And then, seeing what he was doing, I thought, hey, I can do this, and I can operate it this way. And again, that's just kind of where we are today.
As a high school student.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
I'm trying to think
no way do I have that in high school.
No.
Yeah.
There's some times where I think maybe I should have opened my eyes up to other things, but in the end, I love what I do.
And you reached the
I've
goal,
never
too,
deviated from
that
it.
you said you wanted to get to.
It's amazing.
Our vision has come to fruition, but there's still a lot more that we want to accomplish.
That's cool.
I mean, we just keep raising the bar.
That's awesome.
I love that. Yeah. So Muncaster Financial Group starts in 2005. Mm-hmm. So that's, now 17 years?
Correct.
That you have owned the business, and you've brought in other staff. Mm-hmm. How many staff do you have now?
We have 5 total, including myself, so there's 5 of us.
So not only...
Great people, by the way.
Thank you.
They are.
Not only are you living out your dream of helping people in financially, but now you have to lead people on your staff who represent you. What's that been like?
When I started the business, I never had this idea that we were going to grow to the size that we are. And now we have this vision of really being much bigger than we are.
That's so cool.
It really has been fun.
Yeah.
Back when I started in 1995, everybody was kind of a sole practitioner.
Yeah.
You did everything for yourself, and maybe you had an assistant, but that was really the extent. And over the years, it's kind of evolved into you need to have more people, and the demand drives that growth. So. I really was not comfortable with the idea initially. I had myself and my assistant, but I wasn't really comfortable with the idea of adding more people, but we were growing. And so we did. And I've had to become more of a leader in the business. And I was already kind of being a leader with my clients anyway. So it was outside my comfort zone, but then it kind of became very natural and very comfortable. And quite frankly, when you hire really good people, they kind of lead you too.
Yeah.
And we operate as a team, and we all work very well together. But I was fortunate, and Josh said it, we have really good people.
I was actually going to ask you that. What drew you to those people when you're at a critical junction where you said, okay, we need to expand. I don't typically lean that way. So what drew you to those particular people that you brought on? I mean, it's still a small team. Right. So that means they have a lot of sway. So what drew you to those people?
It was, initially their personalities, just getting to know them, understanding them, what their goals were and their dreams, and really aligning what my vision was with what theirs were. And, we've talked, I've had to talk to a lot of people over the years to get to where we are. And as you know, in 2020 and 2021, we spent a lot of time looking.
Yeah.
And fortunately found the right person, but it took a lot of time. But to answer your question, you have to find people that you feel like are going to be a tremendous asset to the team, not only in their skill set, but also in their personality and their drive. And and there's so many boxes that you have to check. It's very difficult to find people that really check every single box.
Yes.
And sometimes you just have to adapt.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they adapt with you over
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Goes
So-
both ways, yeah.
Yeah. So great question there.
It's interesting that you mentioned how sometimes your staff lead you. Can you unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, as a leader, you spend a lot of time leading, of course, but you also have to be a great listener. And everybody's different. Everybody has different ideas. And just because I have an idea about something doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% the right idea or the right path for us to take. So, very often, I have an idea. They have an opinion on it. We collaborate. And in the end, maybe that we follow their path.
Yeah.
Their idea.
How do you keep yourself open to your employees really speaking into what you're doing? I mean, there's a level of humility that there's a posture of that you have to maintain.
Right.
How do you do that when you probably have years of experience on them? The direction you want to go, but you have to be open.
Absolutely.
And if I can add to that too, I think it's different when you're looking at a Fortune 500 company, right?
Sure.
Massive company with employees and dollars.
Systems,
This
processes,
is
yeah.
your baby,
Right.
Right. So you have your vision; it's your baby, but you have to be open to let other people come into your vision.
100%.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because it really is a baby. It's like a child, and you grow and you nurture that child, and you want to see them grow up and stand on their own 2 feet. And part of that process is just having to, again, listen to them, but just realize they might have some really good ideas, and things change over time. And we have some older, my age folks, and then we have some younger folks, and you just have to be able to evolve and adapt with it, and be open to the idea that maybe things are changing. And be receptive to it. And
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that too, because your industry is different too. It's not like healthcare.
Right.
It's not like tech. I mean, you're handling finances, large sums of money. You're handling a lot of stuff for people that, I mean, could be the difference between making or breaking it as a person financially. And so there's a lot of pressure, and the fact that in the midst of that pressure, you're saying, yeah, I'm going to yield my ego a little bit here and let this person who does not have 17 years worth of experience running a business
Right.
give me input into my vision. I think that's incredibly I mean, that's telling about the leader who you are and the caliber you are.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's a great point too. We are making very big decisions on a daily basis, and we have to be very careful. And we always say we measure twice and cut once.
Yeah.
It's really more like 3 or 4 times.
Which is good. I think I would want my financial advisor to say that. Not like, I
Absolutely.
measured twice and cut once. I measured 4 times. Ooh, even better. Thank you.
We are double and triple and
Yeah.
quadruple checking everything that
Yeah.
we do. But to your point, it's, we're all doing this together.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of me making all the decisions or somebody else. We're all collaborating throughout the entire process, and it works, and it works great.
Yeah. Can you recall your earliest leadership role? Like if you were thinking back in your 20s, your teens, just one of the earliest responsibilities you had, even if it's not employment.
Right.
But can you recall that?
That's a great question. I mean, I think when I played a lot of soccer growing up.
What position?
I was forward, right wing.
Nice.
Maybe rover every now and then.
Yeah.
But for the most part, right wing. So, I was captain of the team a few times. Played on a few all-star teams. We won state a couple years. So I would say that was.
Says I want to say
just
a couple times.
As he's going, this one.
Well, we're talking middle school, so it wasn't anything glamorous, but
You didn't wear
just
your rings to the shove?
This is middle school.
I'll have to go dig out my trophies.
Yeah.
Keep going. Sorry.
But you asked earliest. I would say being a captain on those teams.
Yeah.
Was probably the earliest.
Can you recall what that experience felt like, being in that kind of a role, having to make, be an example, make those decisions, even in those small ways?
Yeah, I was always just so driven to win, in the right way, but driven to be successful. And so for me, it was really just about getting our team pumped up, getting everybody ready, getting everybody excited, wanting to play, ready to play, and to go out and give our best. And I do remember in the huddles, having conversations with everybody and saying, this is it. Let's go out and let's win this thing, and let's leave it all on the field today.
Yeah.
Even at 13, 14 years old,
love it.
15, whatever
Yeah.
age it was. So.
That's great.
All that passion and
What
drive.
did we say in that last podcast with George about leaders? Some of the best leaders are typically athletes.
Athletes, yeah.
Yep, there you go.
I'm going to keep saying that as we keep
is.
having people who are former athletes. I'm like, all right, there's another one.
Yeah.
It's amazing when we're going through the hiring process how often the people that check the majority of the boxes
We're former athletes.
are athletes.
That's
and
cool.
we have 2, actually 3
Wow.
out of the 5 of us, and I'm not one of them. I'm talking about
Everybody here.
that were involved in
Middle school state.
right.
time.
That's
Played
the
college.
a little bit of high school. That's the extent of it. No, we have 3 that were college athletes.
Wow.
out of 5. So
I'm curious. Do you think that is because we talked about that with George Singleton in a previous podcast? Do you think that with athletes, and I'm thinking even with military, do you think that comes from the idea that failure is such an important part of leadership development, and it's very accepted, like to reflect on that and to
100%.
examine that? So how has that shaped you, looking at failure as a teacher?
it's for me. I'm always looking forward. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to keep on this path and look 2 or 3 steps ahead. So failure is extremely frustrating and disheartening, and it hurts. But it doesn't stop you from moving forward. Right. I mean, the train's in motion. We're not slowing down. We may hit a little bump, but to your question about athletes, I think you learn how to fail. I think you learn how to keep score, to set goals, and to be regimented, and you're just driven.
Yeah, to push yourself. I think
Push
that's
yes.
the other piece. If you haven't played sports or you haven't had military experience, somewhere along the way, there has to be an experience that is pushing you to push yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for you to keep that as a self-reflective
Yep.
diagnostic.
Yep.
You
And
know,
even when you're
anytime
on a
that I
team,
need to be pushed, I always look to Synergy Coffee, which is the sponsor of our podcast. Anytime I need to pick me up or something just to get me through maybe that midweek hump.
Another
Synergy Coffee.
shameless plug.
It's wonderful.
Were you going to say anything on that before Joel?
No, he's fine. I was just going to say, self-motivation.
Yeah.
You have to be self-motivated, and you've got to be driven. And if you're in team sports or individual sport, you still have to motivate. This pretty much the same way. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, what drew you? You brought Richard in for
Yeah.
the podcast and recruited him into it. What drew you to wanting Richard to be in on the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been blessed with the opportunity to meet Richard. I went to him and said, I don't know what to do with my money. Help me.
Opening up a Velcro wallet.
Yeah.
and just
I was-
chain.
yeah.
He was looking at me weird, and I was putting pennies down, counting the pennies.
Yeah.
No, I'm not as smart as you in math. But no, when I got to meet Richard and kind of see how he also, handled himself and the drive that you have, and I think you said that how many times in this podcast already, drive, right? The drive that you have. Yeah. That's something I look towards, in a good leader, right? Do they have the drive? I feel like if you have the drive, you feel comfortable with working with that person, and even when you're looking from a financial position, I feel comfortable in knowing that this person has the drive and is trustworthy. Getting to go through that process with you and meet the team, and it was just very comfortable. It was very safe. And I think that when you have a team that no matter who you were talking to is the same, and you feel safe talking to them, and you feel comfortable, and you know that you're in good hands. Yes, that's very special from each one of those individuals that I'm talking to, but that starts at the top, right? And that's obviously you. And I think that, getting to experience that myself, I said, hey, here's a strong leader that can run a company, and I feel safe talking to, and I've got to see what he's done with his employees. But then on top of that, you're very driven within the community. That also to me says a lot about a leader, right? It's not all about you, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at you've talked about that so far, about how you're focusing on your employees and giving them the best that you can give, but yet you still put more effort into your community by giving your time selfishly, and it sounds selfishly, and you're involved in a lot of that. So I think that again that makes a strong leader. So I would love to hit on that because you are
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
involved in the
Thank
community. So can you kind of share with everybody with why is community so important to you as a leader within the Greenville community?
Well, I think first of all, as a business for us, it's very important that we give back. We're very grateful to be where we are, but I think it's important for us also to take the opportunity to expand upon our skill set beyond just our business. And so, if we can give our time or energy or whatever to help support the community, that's what we're going to do. I love Greenville. Very passionate about it. Not from here originally, but I've been here for 27 years now, and I want to see every aspect of Greenville be successful, and the community obviously is a big part of that. So, for us and everybody in our office included, we want to do as much as we can, and it's not always just financial. It's really more of our time and efforts to try to do what we can to help each organization improve, and there's a lot of them, and they need a lot of help.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful.
If I can add one more thing too, one thing that I really enjoyed about Rich as well is I think a good leader wants to share their success, share their how did they get there, and I think that's what we've really wanted to do with this podcast, right? Bring leaders in here that's not going to sit here and just brag about themselves, but they're going to share their successes, share their failures to make other people better, right? And one thing that Rich has really done in a very short period of time with me is being newer to the community. He has been a great mentor, but he's also introduced me to so many great people in the community. That's really helped myself out, right?
Yeah.
With getting involved in the community myself. So that is also a great trait about you, that you're not just holding it all to yourself. You want to see others successful. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up because I actually thought about that today, and when I was thinking about today and what I wanted to say. But I love connecting people.
Yeah,
I like it,
Yeah.
and it's fun. And there's so many good people that have so many different skill sets. And I heard your previous guest say you have to surround yourself with great people, and there's no truer statement. And so when I see your skill set and I see other people that are like you, like-minded, and I think y'all can benefit from getting to know each other and knowing that this could be not just 6 months, this could be 6 years or 60-year relationship.
Absolutely.
That excites me. And I love the opportunity to connect people. So thank you for
That's a great
bringing that up.
characteristic. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the organizations that you work closely with is Meals on Wheels, right? How did you get connected to them? Why is that something that really is a driver for you to be connecting
Yeah.
the community with them?
Well, when I first moved to Greenville in '95 and started my career, one of the guys I worked with was very involved and asked me to go deliver a few routes with them. And so we did, and got involved that way and did it for a couple of years, and then lost connection, and then had an opportunity to work with them on the business side a number of years later, about 2005 or 6, and just reconnected and became more and more passionate about Meals on Wheels, and went to the ED and said I'd like to be more involved. As I learned more and more about what they were doing, and they're more than a meal is their mission statement, and it's true. It's about relationships. It's not just delivering that meal; it's connecting with the people that we're delivering to, and seeing the excitement that they have. For many, you're the only person they're going to see on many days, and so they look forward to it. And then we have conversations with them, and you really get to know them and connect with them. So, so that was what drew me in to Meals on Wheels initially, and then so we started delivering again. Then I joined the board and spent 6 years on the board and was board chair for 1 year, and now I'm back involved in a different role. Thankfully, they asked me to come back, and I accepted.
There you go.
So it's a terrific organization.
Is there something different from a leadership standpoint? Is there something different about leading it in a nonprofit where these people are not reporting to you like in a job, but you were trying to rally people towards a cause? Is there something different about leading organizationally there as opposed to in your business?
I think there is, because people are there because they want to be. And not to say they're not in business, but when you give of your time, whether it's attending board meetings or attending events or whatever it is you're doing that by choice, choice, free will. You're there to do it because you're passionate about it and you're wanting to support that organization. So, when I was board chair, it was really more about just helping organize everybody, helping get everybody together, make sure that we were doing the things that were best for the organization. But you weren't having to draw people in per se. The people that were there, that were at the meetings, they were there because they wanted to be, and so the passion already existed.
That's cool.
Yeah. When we think about leadership, we think about organizations, we think about businesses. I'm curious because you've got a young kiddo at home.
I do.
Right? How old?
7.
7. Wow. What does it look like, thinking about wife, thinking about 7-year-old? What does it look like to bring what makes you a good leader at work? What does it look like to bring that home?
That's a great question. I actually thought about that.
I want to know this actually too, as a young parent.
It's fun because, again, I'm leading adults at work. I also am trying to raise a business, so to speak, and he's there for the ride. So I'll tell you a funny story. We bought our building 4 years ago. It's a house that we're in, but we turned it into an office. And at 3 years old, or 3 or 4, he started calling it the office house. So now whenever we go to the office, it's the office house. But he goes with me and he looks around and he sees different things and he's asking questions. And now this past summer, he had some money saved up. He wanted to buy something. And I said, I explained to him what happens when you buy something, what it's actually worth and so on. And we started watching the stock market together.
That's cool.
And he watches the ticker symbols and he got excited. This is up, this is down, blah, blah, blah. And then he wanted to invest his money. So I made him count out his money and hand it to me. And we set up an account. And now he's involved literally every week wanting to know how his account is doing.
That's so cool.
That's cool.
But to answer your question, it's just planting seeds with him, opening up his mind to different ideas and seeing that flourish and getting him excited about it. That's probably the best part. And I've told him since he was 2 or 3, I said, you're a leader, not a follower. I want you to set an example, live by the golden rule. We talk about that all the time, but be a good leader, make good decisions. So it's fun.
Yeah,
That's great.
And then when you think about from a marriage standpoint, you're not CEO of your marriage.
Not at all.
We get told that very clearly. It's ideally it's a team.
Oh,
right?
100%.
It's a team working together. But how do you bring those leadership skills into the most important relationship in your life?
It's you're right. It's a team and we're a partnership. So I go from essentially being the leader at work, even though we're all in my mind leaders, to coming home and we're a partnership and the business is part of our partnership. And we talk about the business a lot. And she has some fantastic ideas. She really just complements not only I mean, she compliments me, but she really, brings some great ideas to the table. So I let her lead the house and whatever she wants to lead outside of work. I'm like, please take it. I'll handle this, and please keep giving me your ideas because I love hearing them and I think they're fantastic. But outside of that, I'm pretty spent.
You're more like a founding consultant now. You're just like, oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
here we go.
Tell me where I need to be, what we need to do.
Love it.
She was so excited yesterday. She's 99% done with Christmas shopping, and the house is fully decorated.
That's
And-
impressive.
yeah,
It's impressive.
It's wonderful when that comes together and it's
Yes.
not all on you.
Yes.
so grateful.
Yeah, no, my wife is wonderful at that as well. Because I would just be, our family would be lost with all that.
Yeah.
I'd be
I'd be that person
the day
on-
after Christmas.
Or like the Christmas Eve person.
yeah,
That would be terrible. I'd be that person.
yeah.
Shopping.
Joe, what are some of the questions or thoughts that are stirring for you?
Yeah.
As you hear Richard talk.
What's interesting too, I mean, I think it's this avenue of business, this industry, it's easy for people to see leadership by how much you're managing and the accounts that you're managing. But what I think is cool about you is, and I want to know, how have you navigated that to show it's not just that we secured this client who's now giving us this many millions of dollars, right?
Yep.
The reason why we got that was because of these things that we're doing. We're not leaders because of the amount of money we have that we're managing. So how have you navigated those waters in an industry that is much probably about like how much are you managing? Okay, I'm managing this, right?
Yep. That is a fantastic question because
You are making me feel so good.
no,
today.
I mean, y'all are asking some great questions, and truly, I've been thinking about this like for weeks now. But so when I got to that point where the business had grown, and I said, okay, we're going to have to hire.
Yeah.
A lot of, I don't want to say a lot. You're at a crossroads. Okay, do we become very selective in who we work with, or do we let the business or the demand drive our growth and we continue to hire as the demand goes up? And I made the decision because I love working with people. We're not, as a company, driven by assets under management or who we're working with or number of clients, that sort of thing. We genuinely want to help people. And it doesn't matter to us if you're over here or over here. If you have a desire and want to work with us, we want to find a way to make that happen. So I already go back. I'm sorry. Tell me your question
again.
again.
Navigated those waters of
Yeah.
in your industry. It's more about how much you're managing, not
Okay,
how you
yes.
lead people. How
Yes.
have you kind of risen above that as a leader?
Okay, great question. So we really adopted more of a fee-based platform as a company, so that we could allow the opportunity to work with really anybody that we could.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we, as a company, we've just had to adapt and grow, it really in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But I've had to, talk to our folks and say this is, and they all 100% are on board. That's what they want as well. And you've gathered that from
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. You
so-
can tell that you're there for your clients, and there's no doubt about that.
we are.
Yeah.
And we genuinely care, and everybody genuinely
Yeah.
cares, and that's huge. So I hope that answered your
No,
question.
it did. No, it was a great answer. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Richard, I want you to imagine with our listeners, with our viewers, imagine the guy that's or the woman that is in the early 20s,
Okay.
and they feel lost. Whether they're in a job right now or they're coming out of college, and they feel lost as to how to take the next step. For you in high school, it got clear. This is what I'm interested in. But somebody that is lost and is trying to get that compass orientation back, or find it for the first time, what would you say as an encouragement to them of how to be thinking, how to be moving in that state of building a career?
Yep. So I knew where I wanted to go. But even at 22 and 23, coming out of Clemson, I didn't necessarily know how to get there. So I started talking to people. And I was already in this career path. I had interviewed before I graduated, accepted a job, and I still wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do. There's a lot of different ways you can go in this business, and with most businesses there are. So I just started gravitating towards certain people that I looked up to, that I thought, they're experienced. They've been in this business for a while. Give me some advice. And I just started taking all that information and kind of cherry picking the parts that I thought applied to me and trying to implement them. And it took years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still doing that. But to your question, if you're in your early 20s, you may know where you want to go, but you probably don't know how you're going to get there. And the best thing you can do is, whether it's through your church, through your family, or really just people that you work with or know, have a conversation. Take them to lunch.
And pay for it.
And, yeah.
Don't take them to lunch and then didn't go Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You pay for him.
And I literally did that. I called up, friends of mine's parents, fathers, mothers, and said, give me some advice. I remember distinctly taking one guy, a friend of mine's father, to lunch who had been very successful in business. We went to the Applebee's on Haywood Road in 1996 and had a 2-hour conversation. And, here we are, 26
Was it during
years
the
later?
half price? No, they probably didn't have half price appetizers at that time. Never mind. I've been
It'll save you some money. Yeah.
it would be
That was one of the only places you could really go for lunch.
That's
back
true.
then.
That's true.
But, y'all probably don't remember.
Oh,
that,
how
but-
far you fallen, Applebee's. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
So anyway, my advice would be just to ask as many people as you can that you respect and look up to.
Yeah.
And take that information and try to apply it to yourself and to your
Yeah.
career and to your path. And then just do it on a daily basis. Be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's required in that is to have the humility to recognize you don't know it all.
Exactly.
And be able to move out of that, as opposed to, I'm going to go impress some people because I know a bunch of things.
Listening is key.
Yeah.
That was my thought. I mean, we've had now multiple guests on this show, and I don't know if the listeners, if you're getting this, I'm not going to act like you're not. I'm sure a lot of you are. There's a couple through lines. There's a couple thematic lines that are continuing through every episode, and one of them is, to be a successful leader, you have to collaborate in humility, which everyone we've had on has mentioned in some capacity, collaborating in humility, and that led them to get to the next step. And so, I mean, if there's anyone listening to this podcast and you're in that position going, I don't know how I get to the next step, maybe it's because, as George said, you're trying to go fast, which means you have to go alone rather than go far, which means you go together. And so maybe you do need to take a second and be more humble, and in humility, be collaborative, and that will get you to the next step of what you want to go or where you want to go.
And I think that's a generational struggle too. I'm going to go a little deep here with some stuff, but we are coming out of, a generation of everybody gets a trophy, right? And what does that teach you, right? I think that everybody now thinks
Don't look
that,
at me when you say that.
I'm looking at you because you're the youngest one. Everybody now feels as though I know everything. I'm right. I deserve, or I hope that, like Joel mentioned, you have to humble yourself and know that, okay, you might have been told that your entire life,
Yeah.
but when you get in the real world, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And humble yourself and reach out to people.
It's true.
Because you can't do it alone. You really can't.
That's right. Richard,
cannot.
if people want to connect with you and be able to have some more discussions around the financial services that Muncaster Financial Group provides, and just really be able to have a conversation, what should they do next?
The easiest thing is to go to our website, muncasterfinancial.com.
Okay, and we'll have
of
that
our-
in the show notes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Reach out to us through the website. There are you can email us, you can give us a call, but we'll be happy to sit down and have a conversation, or over the phone or Zoom.
And your last name is amazing. Where did it come from? I've been wondering that this entire time.
It's from England.
Okay.
There is actually a castle, Muncaster Castle, believe it or not.
Are you
Wait, able to go and stay there?
Well, I was gonna say, has your goal been from middle school? You found out that there was a castle and you said, I'm going to make enough money to buy it. Was that, did I just uncover from years ago that was your goal?
That has not been a goal, but that should be.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just
It's-
imagine a middle schooler, that was the reason why you're like, stop.
And when you do that, Viewpoint gets a room, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right, good.
I follow him on Facebook. It's actually it's pretty amazing. You'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
Lancaster
check that out.
Castle. I will.
Now the family sold it apparently about 500 years ago.
Oh.
So maybe one day.
I think you'll get there.
Yeah, 500 years has been long enough. They can sell
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah, that's
Somebody
true.
can sell it.
That's true.
I'll keep trying. That'll be my goal.
Well, Richard, this has been enlightening. I really appreciate
Terrific.
you
Thank y'all.
being with us. And if you want to get to connect with Richard and he and his team, don't forget his website is in the show notes. So go take a look at that. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.